Thanks for joining me today. I have the honor of speaking with Jorge Ganoza. He's the CEO of Fortuna Silver Mines. They are a global intermediate gold and silver producer, 4 operating mines currently and 1 in construction. How are you today, Jorge?
I'm doing well, Ron, and thanks again for the opportunity to speak to your audience and join you in the basement.
You're in the basement, you, me, and the bear, right? Hey, you recently announced your Q3 results, and seems like the market reacted favorably. I was looking last night at the stock price in the last 6 weeks has gone up maybe 80%. What do you think the market saw in those Q3 results that have kind of resulted in some favorable returns for your shareholders?
That's we have looked at that hard, know what have been the drivers of the performance, and I have to say consistency. I think because there really were no surprises in our Q3 results.
Right.
No surprises. Everything was as telegraphed to the market through our public disclosures and guidance at the beginning of the year. The fact of the matter is that 2021, last year, was a very turbulent year for the company, for a corporate acquisition in West Africa. We had a contentious situation with the environmental agency in Mexico with respect to one of our permits for our San Jose mine in Mexico, which was resolved.
Right.
Successfully, but very turbulent. So we have seen, as you pointed out, very strong performance building up throughout 2022. And have there been any surprises, positive surprises,
yeah,
or something screaming discovery or us exceeding production? No.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key is the market investors recognizing steady performance, steady delivery, and I think that's what's being rewarded. Predictable, steady results. And that's how we reason what's been driving performance. And of course, we've been enjoying a lot of success with our exploration in West Africa, our project, or construction that we'll speak later, I'm sure about, is coming along excellent.
Right.
In a difficult construction environment. But again, all of those things are things that have been telegraphed. We're just providing support and confirmation and de-risking of all of those expectations throughout the year. And I think we're being rewarded for that. Yeah.
So is it safe to say that I guess so far in 2022, it's been a bit of a challenging environment from a metals price perspective, but the company has continued, Fortuna has continued to do well because you're a low-cost producer, and as we look out into 2023, we don't know what the metals prices will do. But we do know what to expect from the company in terms of being a low-cost producer and an exciting new mine, the Seguela mine, is that correct? Which is 85%. Will you touch on that for a few minutes? Because the more I learn about West Africa in gold mining, it's very, very exciting, the prospects.
Yes. West Africa is a key part of our strategy. It complements our LATAM business, our business in the Americas, in Latin America. And that's where our more immediate catalysts for value are, basically centered around the successful delivery of what will be a flagship mine for the company, Seguela. We're by now 85% complete with the construction. It's $174 million in capital, total capital. And we're on time, on budget. 95% of the capital has been committed about 130, probably 140 million by now that has been accrued. So constructions are difficult, particularly in this challenging environment with inflation and strains on the supply chain. But being 85% complete, I think significantly de-risks the project, right? We're not out of the woods yet.
Sure.
We're very close. So I think the more challenging, difficult part of the construction is behind us. And yeah, we're looking forward for first gold mid next year.
Right. How, I don't want to ask a sensitive question here, but how would you compare the Seguela construction process to what, to the Lindero construction process? I know Lindero was isolated, it was COVID. It seems like the Seguela process has been, there's been a few or many less bumps in the road for you?
Many. The Lindero construction was tortuous for several reasons. The main one being we were basically completing construction, commissioning and ramping up through the worst of COVID in a country that locked itself out of the world.
Right.
The Argentinian lockdown was one of the more severe and dramatic ones in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They left Argentinians out of the country who couldn't come back, let alone technicians, foreign technicians and people like that for months, right?
Right.
So you couldn't go back to your country for months, you know. And again, for example, we have a specialized crusher at the Lindero mine. It's called a high pressure grinder roll. The acronym is HPGR.
Sure.
And that's a specialized type of equipment. It's a big machine. It's a tertiary crusher. And the technicians that we required to launch that equipment into, you know, commissioning and ramp up and operate it were German technicians living in Turkey.
Yeah, right.
It was impossible to get them into Argentina.
Right.
Those German technicians who reside in Turkey,
Right.
to impossible to get them in the country. And you know, that's probably the more dramatic one, but there were several of those.
Sure.
So it was torturous. The other thing is that how many mines have been built in Argentina? Salta is a good province for mining business. They are very receptive, very encouraging. I would rank it as one of the best mining jurisdictions out there in the world, Salta. But how many mines have been built in Salta or in Argentina? Not many.
Right.
So there is an absence of specialized contractors. So when we compare that type of construction environment at that point in time with what we're doing in Seguela today, in Cote d'Ivoire, in the Ivory Coast, two different worlds completely. Yeah. So one, we don't have the limitations of the pandemic. And two, over the last 6 years, I think there have been 6 mines built in Cote d'Ivoire. So you have the specialized service companies, engineering firms, all the equipment that we require is serviced with strong industry clusters in the region. I don't have to step out of the region to get technical support. So it's very efficient, very, very efficient. And we have strong construction partners because there is a lot of expertise in country, right? From the lycopodium or EPC to the earth moving contractor, to the electromechanical and piping contractor, to instrumentation, you know, all of that. Go ahead.
So it's a lot easier to get a Caterpillar bulldozer worked on in West Africa than it is at Lindero, right?
Any day
As
of
an
the
example.
week. Any day of the week.
Yeah.
anywhere.
And I think a lot of people wouldn't realize that. I think a lot of average people would think, oh my gosh, Africa, that would, you're better off in Argentina. But the reality is the opposite. There's actually an established support system in West Africa.
It's even though West Africa might sound like remote and exotic to some, particularly in North America, it's a well-established and well-traversed mining jurisdiction where you find it is one of the most prolific, or it's not one of the most, it's the most prolific mining jurisdiction in the world over the last 20 years. Yeah. No other place in the world has seen the expansion of its precious metals mining industry like West Africa. So that means that you have all of these pools of knowledge, services, equipment available that make operating, constructing, building quite efficient.
Wow. And I want to circle back to Seguela in a few minutes and talk about the recent exploration news. I think that's very exciting as well. But I think it's important to point out and to maybe pay you a compliment that because I held the stock through the entire Lindero construction process. And it, even as a stockholder, it was a little painful, but you guys stuck with it and, methodically worked it out. And the mine is doing pretty well now. I mean, it's performing as expected. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. The mine is performing as it's our strongest free cash flow generator in 2022, for sure.
Yeah.
It surpassed Mexico or Mexican mine as a contributor to free cash. It's our lowest cost mine today. In 2022, we're operating at all-in sustaining cost of $1,100, $1,150 in that range. That will be the average for the year. So yeah, we're quite happy.
You said that at the beginning that you thought maybe the market had been rewarding the stock because you're a steady, consistent delivery. And that's what I've heard Rick Rule say that about you and about the company, that and I've been following you for years, and I will pay you that compliment. You guys, are steady and consistent. And I think in the end, that pays some pretty good dividends.
Thank you for the comment. And it's our workforce today is 5,000 people. It's 5,000 men and women that make Fortuna happen every day. And, we take our responsibility here, as you can appreciate and imagine, very seriously, right? Not just to our investors, but stakeholders in general. And mining is an industry that touches people, communities in ways that not many other industries do, right? Technology can change people's lives definitely by, giving access to internet in remote places or develop software, but we are physically in those remote places. We're there in the ground, in immediate, intimate interaction with communities in remote areas, usually impoverished areas with big gaps in infrastructure, education, health. We're there in the ground, present, no?
But you have a big impact immediately, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Operating a healthy business is not just operating a healthy business financially, but a healthy business today means that you're sustainable, you're engaging well. So that's a responsibility that we take very seriously, and I think it reflects on this that I'm saying, steady production,
right.
A methodical approach to developing complex mines, which is what every mine is, right? A complex endeavor.
And I think happy employees and grateful employees will go the extra mile for the company as well.
Yeah, no, we try to be fair with everybody, right?
Yeah. So what about this recent exploration news out of Seguela? And I know you and I last time we talked, I at that point was unaware of kind of the large land package that you have and some prospective land, and it seems like some drilling's been done and we have some positive results.
Yes, the driver for the Rocks Gold acquisition in mid-2021 was Seguela, right?
Mhm.
We have the strong view that Seguela was being misunderstood by the market, right? The market was not assigning real value to the tremendous exploration potential that that property held. I think that view was shared at the time by the exploration team of Rocks Gold and management for sure, but the market did not really grasp it, no? And I think we are providing the results and doing the work that will be conductive to better showcase to everybody what does Seguela really mean. We have a commanding land position under our control that stretches for 30 kilometers from north to south. We control all of that ground with the right rocks, with the right structures, geologic structure. We have multiple prospects, and we have 5 ore bodies in the reserve plan. That's last year's, no, that's 2021's reserves plan. And with Sandberg, we're adding a 6th mineral deposit that through drilling, we'll be able to incorporate it into the mine plan and mine schedule, which we have not been able to do today because it's a process of drilling and generating more information, more data, so we can upgrade that resource to reserves, right? So we're in the process. But as you've seen through a construction where many companies got back on exploration to focus on the construction, we have been working at an accelerated pace on the exploration concurrent with the construction. So we've been building and exploring at the same time and aggressively exploring. Our largest exploration budget in 2022 is Seguela.
Right. And you're still generating cash flow. And, when you compare Fortuna to other companies that are attempting to build mines right now, a lot of them are having a hard time just building the mine because of inflation. I think that's, your financial.
We have 2 parallel tracks. One is a construction track where the team is delivering superbly, on time, on budget. But at the same time, the other parallel track is the exploration track, where we continue harvesting those high value opportunities that we all agree on with the exploration team. And that's what we're showing you. And I think that's a part of the puzzle that the general market still needs to grasp. And it is our job to do the work in the field so we can share that excitement that we have as geoscientists. When we go to the field, we look at the rocks and say, I think there is just lots of potential here.
There's a lot there.
But to get rewarded for that potential, to have our shareholders rewarded for that potential, we need to do the drilling. We need to tell a story that's well understood, supported by results. And that's what we're doing, no?
Yeah. Very interesting. One of my questions was, what's next after Seguela? But it sounds like that could keep you busy for several years, even after the mine is.
What's happened after Seguela is probably more Seguela.
More Seguela. That sounds
because
good.
Before looking at opportunities to grow the business outside of the farm,
right?
I think we're better serving our shareholders by first making sure that all of those organic opportunities for growth are deeply explored. Those are never exhausted, right? But there is a point where you said, okay, there was low-hanging fruit, I took it all, and now I'm more open to look outside of the farm. But right now, we just see a lot of low-hanging fruit in the portfolio. Seguela construction, Seguela exploration. We have aggressive programs right now in Mexico as well, right? We're drilling and prospecting and exploring in Argentina as well. We have enjoyed a lot of exploration success in Peru over the last couple of years. Our Peruvian operation currently, if we do something that the regulators don't like, which is talk about reserves and resources in the mine plan, if we pile all of those reserves and resources together, the Peruvian mine Cayoma is looking good for 10 years. It's the first time in at least since I've been at the helm of that mine, which is now 17 years, that I see that mine with, close to 10 years of predictable mine production, right? Based on inventories, not just on expectations, right? We have that ore in some category in our inventory. It's not just an expectation of discovery, it's in inventories, be it reserves or resources, but it's in inventory. So looking at the inventory, I can easily see 10 years of mine production.
So you still keep that exposure to silver, obviously.
Yes, we keep the exposure for silver in Peru. We keep the exposure to silver in Mexico. And this year for our silver fans, out of 12 drill rigs that we had turning throughout the world, 8 were pursuing silver opportunities. 8 out of the 12 drill rigs. So we're still very committed for silver. That's something we hunt for in the Americas. But a good silver deposit is hard to come, right?
Sure. Right. And then I want to briefly touch on the Mexican operation, the 212 typographical error that occurred. Is that, I understand that's been rectified, and the permit's now good for 11 more years, I guess you could say, from about right now.
Yeah, that has been resolved successfully for the company. That was just, I believe, I don't even know how to categorize it. But it's
that was the
I am born and raised in Peru, which is an emerging country, right? It's but the world used to be divided in the first world and the third world, and we're part of this. That I don't think that categorization is politically correct anymore, but we used to be called the third world, and for a good reason, because you can have government officials issuing childish documents like that. But fortunately, it was revoked in the Mexican courts, and the company succeeded, and our 12-year permit was ratified by the Mexican court, and that is non-appealable to the environmental agency.
Yeah, that's great. That's great news. And I think it circles back to what you said earlier. I think from what I understood, the people in that area wanted the mine, and you can do good things for those people in Mexico as well.
We have a strong constructive relationship with our host community. Now, I believe that around the world, there is a lot of tension around mining, the concept of mining. And there is a big naivety on this, because that tension comes or is created by a lot of these groups that are strong proponents in the COP meetings of the world of, decarbonization and the electrical vehicle revolution and all of that. So where do you think that those raw materials that the decarbonization demands come from?
Right.
Those come from a mine.
Comes from a mine.
Right. So You want decarbonization, but you don't want mines. Okay,
Right.
how does that math really work? Because one is not going to happen without the other.
Right.
So, you know, I think the world's still digesting this structural change. I believe in all of that, all of those proposals for a cleaner world. I subscribe to all of that. But I believe there are certain groups there that are not doing the math, and there is some, if we want to be generous, naivety around those initiatives on decarbonization. And then you see countries like Chile, Peru, Mexico being contentious with mining, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers in terms of just solar, solar panels alone and the amount of silver that would have to be loaded into those panels over the next 10 years, it's got to come from somewhere. I mean, if they want it to happen, it's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah. And copper, I don't know if you've seen these figures, no? But it's information that's readily available for everybody if you just Google it. But a combustion vehicle consumes what I think around 25, 26 kilograms of copper. The average combustion vehicle. A hybrid consumes about, I think, 40 kilos, in that range.
Right.
And an electric vehicle consumes around 80 kilos. So at the rate that the electrical vehicle revolution needs to take place to meet the commitments of the COP agreements, you need to deliver 2 world-class copper mines every year for the next decade.
Right.
First, that's not feasible because you're not going to discover those at that rate. Second, it takes 15 years from discovery to develop a world-class large deposit. So there are people there who are not doing the math, clearly.
So is it safe to say it will be an important decade that we head into, Jorge, from a mining perspective?
Absolutely. I think there is a structural change.
Yeah.
It's not a cyclical change. It's more structural, and it's going to be with us for a long time. But at the same time, this structural change because we can debate if the greenhouse effect or not is true, or global warming is man caused or not. But regardless, the world should go to some the level of decarbonization. I think we can all agree with that.
Right.
No, and I think the question is at what pace. No, and all of this that needs to take place for that to happen, I think we're going to go through a phase of tension. And I think mining, once again, is going to play a key role in that, to source those commodities that are needed for the decarbonization. And we are also going into a different structural phase for the world economic order. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're going to see inflation at rates I believe that our generation, Ron, is not used to.
Right. Yeah.
No, I'll share with you something. I was in Munich about a month ago as well, attending a mining conference in Munich. I never seen a mining conference with so many people. And I go to a lot of mining conferences.
Right.
I go to a lot, believe me. Not all of them, but most all of them I've been to. And the amount of investor interest was shocking to me, really shocking. I presented to an audience of a full packed room with over 500 people present for my talk.
Wow.
And the hallways of the conference were, you know, in excess of 2,000 people.
Wow.
I was surprised. The
And you've been to a few conferences, so.
I'll tell you, I'll make a parenthesis. I went to a Vancouver investment conference a few years ago. And as I was walking into the conference, the place was full.
Right.
And I was, oh my God, so many people. And the place was packed. And as I walk into the mining conference, I see that the hallways are empty.
Yeah.
But something didn't match because the actual conference was empty, but the hallways outside of the conference, it was a big, you know, building complex,
Right.
were packed with people. And what happened is that right next to the mining conference, there was a fair of sex toys. So
That
everybody
explains
was
it.
going to the sex toys fair,
Right.
and the entrance was the same for the mining investors and the sex toys fair.
Wow.
So the mining the hallways of the mining conference were empty, and everybody was going to the sex toys.
Everybody
Well,
was, but it's different now.
it's different now. So, but you know what? Europeans, and in particular Germans, have a different recollection of history because of the, you know, dramatic events that you know, as that were the Second World War and the situation they see today with, you know, Russia and so you cannot imagine the not just the amount of people, but also how engaged they were.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
So I look at that, and to make a mining analogy, to me, it's like the canary in the coal mine, right? An early sign of
Interest.
If these guys who are so sensible, no, and have a very light skin for all of these things, are so engaged and so interested and keen. These are things that I think will start to expand to other regions like North America and whatnot. No, precious metals are through history, you know, essential for monetary stability, economic stability, wealth preservation. And although in the short term, we can be distracted by cryptocurrencies and other themes, I think at the end of the day, all reverts back to the basics.
Thank you, Jorge, for your time. And you've shared a great level of knowledge about the company and just kind of general subjects related to the metals as well. I really appreciate it. I know my viewers appreciate it as well. Anything else you want to mention or need to mention?
No. Please follow the story, and glad to be here again, speaking with you.
Yeah. Hopefully have a great holiday, and I guess we'll be talking early 2023 when we have just a few more months till the Seguela mine might be up and running.
Looking forward to that.
Thanks, Jorge. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Likewise.